Hi Vinyl community, John here. This is my video response to a thread posted by VinylBlog 1965, I think his handle is. He asked us to show our favourite folk albums, and you don't see much folk here on the VC, so I thought it's a fun thing to do. I pulled a few that I have, and I'll start off by showing this one. This is Joan Baez. Now, the question is, how do we pronounce her surname? I always pronounced her Bees or Bays before I lived in the US, and then moving to the US, people didn't understand who I was talking about, and I learned to say Baez. But so this is Joan Baez in concert, the first of two. That's what we're listening to now. Great record. I distinctly remember when I first got this, I went home and played it. It's one of those jaw-dropping moments. I don't think I'd ever heard a voice quite like that. It really is angelic, and putting it on without really knowing what you're going to experience, and when it hits you, it's just, oh, wow, it's really quite special. Good place to start, I think. This is the next one, Joan Baez in concert. I've got a lot of her material. In the US, it's everywhere. You know, she was obviously very, very popular. Oh, obviously still is, but in her day, she made a lot of records and sold a lot of records, and yeah, they're easy to find. Not unlike this guy here, Bob Dylan. Times they are changing. This is a record that I picked up in the US. The lyric sheet. I don't have much of his stuff on vinyl from the early days. Most of my Bob Dylan vinyls are a little bit further along the track, but no, that's one of my favourites, I think. Joni Mitchell, she's from Canada. It's a great record. Again, she's got really quite a special voice too. You have to hear it to believe it, I think. This is one of my favourites of hers, and I recommend anyone that likes folk music checking that out. Okay, Simon & Garfunkel. And some of these artists that I'm showing, I guess, they probably straddle various different genres, but there's certainly not a folk in Simon & Garfunkel. So I'm showing them. This is the, I think it's their first album. I could be wrong. I'll say here if I am. But I really like their music. Spent a lot of time listening to them, trying to get my son into them as well. And I think he's kind of, you know, catching on. Cat Stevens. I've got a lot of his records too. This is T for the Tillerman. These records by Cat Stevens, yeah, there's quite a few of these around as well to be found for. I say that, at least there was. I've managed to collect quite a lot without looking too far. But I don't think he makes records so much now. He stopped and started pursuing religion, but his records made in the 70s were, you know, really, really good. Recommend those. Peter, Paul and Mary. One of my favourites. I really do like Peter, Paul and Mary. This is an album called A Song Will Rise. I think this actually may be their first album. And again, just like Joan Baez, Peter, Paul and Mary records in the United States everywhere. While I was there, I collected multiple copies of some of their more popular albums. I think I've probably got their entire catalogue purely through just, you know, cruising the thrift stores in California, and you pick them up. I've got some great stories to tell, picking Peter, Paul and Mary records up from some of the garage sales that I used to attend in California. Yeah, so Peter, Paul and Mary, great band, very folky, and responsible, I think, as well, in many ways, for the success of a lot of other people, particularly Bob Dylan. I think they did a cover of one of his tracks, I can't remember. It brought him much more into the sort of mainstream limelight. Clannad are an Irish band. I think they're probably these days considered as, you know, part of the sort of the Enya ilk. Enya, the sort of the big popular artist, she was actually part of one of the families that makes up this band, and she actually performed on some of the at least two of the Clannad albums. She's not on this one, I don't think, but yeah, before they started making music for TV shows, they were a lot more sort of traditional Irish folk. I really enjoy this one. Great production. Donovan. Fortunately, his records aren't too hard to find either. There's a lot of these around. He was very popular in the US as well, so they're easy to find there too. He's from Scotland, of course. Actually, friends with Bob Dylan, as I understand. What else have we got here? This artist, I don't know if she counts as being folk or not. I think she is. Well, she certainly has folky elements about her. There's a woman called Melanie Safka. She was one of the artists that performed at Woodstock. I don't think she was particularly well known then, but she certainly became well known after Woodstock. I really like her music. I remember swapping a comment with Doug A. About Melanie. He said that I can't remember how he phrased it, but I think he said something about her vocals being a little bit hard to handle sometimes. And yeah, she does have one of those voices that can grate on your nerves. I agree with that totally. But this album is perhaps, in my view, her best. And I can listen to this record quite a lot, and I did. I remember I bought this in the United States shortly before, like a few months before we were due to move back to Europe. I didn't have many records then because I'd sent all of my records that I collected in boxes back to Europe. So I probably bought this at a time when I didn't have any other records. So I bought it and I played it, and I played it a lot. And I bought it from an antique shop. I paid about $4 for it, which works out at very little money. It's not very much at all, and a great condition record. And I played it a lot because it was possibly my only record that I had at the time until I started collecting more. And to this day, I really, really like it. I do think it's probably her best album. Again, you can look around in the US garage sales and things like that, and you find her records everywhere. She sold lots of records, I think, in the 60s. Probably in the 70s. And yeah, they're there to be found if you can tolerate her voice. This is another great folk band, Chad Mitchell Trio. Bought this at a Goodwill store for 50 cents. very much in the style of Joan Baez and Peter, Paul and Mary, that sort of thing. And the last record I'm going to show is perhaps a bit more contemporary. This is a band called Eddie Brickell and the New Bohemians. I saw them for the first time. They were a supporting act for Bob Dylan. I saw him in the 80s, I guess, yeah. And they're not strictly folk, but there's a lot of folk in what they do. And I recommend looking out for those, because I know that they sold a lot of records too, and I often see them used. I probably should pick up a new copy because this one's got a sticker on it, and I bought it in Sweden, so it's got this tab here. But yeah, they're very sort of contemporary, but definitely very folky too. And well, that's all I'm going to show today. I hope you found it interesting, and look out for my next video. Thank you very much. Bye.